What's going on, family? It's your boy C-Mo the C Mitchell checking in with another Falcons Point Game official bird bag. Brought to you by Granddaddy Mim's Moonshine. Real good stuff, man. But don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. We're going to hit you with 3 sets of 3. 3 revelations, 3 key situations watching the upcoming weeks for the Falcons. 3 reasons why Bijan is the gift that keeps on giving. And none of them have anything to do with offense. Sit back, relax, and hop in the bird bag. Now, first and foremost, I want to talk about the poll results on our recent poll asking if people thought, believe it or not, and there are people out here who actually believe, Desmond Ritter is better than Michael Penix. Now, when I asked the question on YouTube, it was overwhelmingly in the favor of Michael Penix. But one person commented, I think they're about equal. I think they about equal. I think they about equal. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time getting past that first line. 85% of the vote says no, don't be ridiculous. 15% of the vote says yes. Now that's only out of 20 votes. But if you look at what they say on Facebook, 122 votes, which is 94% of the vote, said don't be ridiculous. There's no way he's better than Michael Penix. Contrast that with 6% of the vote, which is 9 votes, said yes, he is better than Michael Penix. Now, you got to pick and choose your battles on what you want to argue about. That's not something I'm going to get into. Michael Penix is much better with the football, and he's a lot more accurate than Desmond Ritter. Even though the numbers don't necessarily say it, they asked Michael Penix Jr. to lead with passing the ball a lot more, and Arthur Smith was a better play caller. Desmond Ritter also made more mistakes with the football. He had 19 touchdowns to 19 turnovers total. Another thing I want to address is I've seen a lot of people recently talking about all the other coaches we could have had. And one of the names that really pops out, aside from Belichick, which is weird, and Mike Vrabel, is the fact that we had Ben Johnson here and we interviewed Ben Johnson and we didn't sign him. We didn't have a chance to sign Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson decided to go back to Detroit and wanted to wait on a better opportunity than the Falcons. He basically opted to stay as a coordinator in Detroit. And that's kind of unheard of. Usually coaches will take a head coaching job because they're so scarce. So for him to have went back to being a coordinator in Detroit says a lot about what he thought about this job. You guys got to stop looking in the past. We're stuck with who we're stuck with right now. And for all intents and purposes, I'm certain that if we don't have a winning season this year, Raheem is probably going to fire Zack Harrison. I'd be lying to you if I said it was a great idea to just get rid of a coach and start all over. That kind of puts us a little bit behind the ball. You would hope that Raheem can get this together. So I'm not being a Raheem apologist at this point in time. I just want to see him get it together and keep it together. Which leads me to my third point. This is the time of year where they say that football really starts. The Falcons, we have a low chance of making the playoffs. But if we can win all our games, we have an 80% chance of making the postseason. Now, I know it's not a given that we're going to win out all our games. We have to play 2 top 10 guys in the power rankings from this week's rankings. Check it out in the description below. The Rams are arguably the best team in the league. We have to play them in the upcoming weeks. And we got to play Seattle as well, too, who's playing really, really good football. And the Jets, believe it or not, are a better team than you would think that they are. These guys have pride and nobody wants to lose. People want to end the season playing well and they want to be able to put out game tape. So the Falcons got their work cut out for them ahead of this week coming up. But I believe that we can win out on a lot of these games. We've lost some really close games and I wouldn't rule it out. Only a couple games out of first place. And Tampa could definitely lose. Especially if Baker Mayfield doesn't play this week. I think he will play, but just. Which leads me to 3 key situations or key players or positions for us to watch. If we want to win out, we're going to really need Kirk Cousins to really hone in and give us what we've paid for in a quarterback. Having Kirk Cousins is like having 20% gratuity added on to your ticket when you go out to a restaurant. And you're kind of salty about, having that added on. But then at the end, you kind of get some good service. It's kind of where we're at with Kirk Cousins right now. And if he does play well, we have his rights. We basically could bring him back next year, and that would probably be the smartest move because I don't know what journeyman quarterback that we could sign that's going to be better than Kirk Cousins right now. Now, he hasn't looked great earlier this year, and anything else could happen. Another situation or player that I think we got to really look at is Alford. He's been huge for us this year. A lot of people at the beginning of the season, myself included, did not want to see us out there with Alford again. And we were saying, hey, Billy Bowman's going to take over this nickel position. And it looked like he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time. But with Billy Bowman being hurt for the rest of the season and have gotten injured for a few weeks in the season prior to that, as well as Mike Hughes being out, you seen how bad it looked with Natron Brooks the other week. Kirk Cousins and Alford are two people that they wanted to see us get rid of earlier this year. They have been the smartest decisions to keep them on the roster because they have saved us a great deal over the past few weeks. At the end of the season, Alford is going to be a free agent. Now, with Billy Bowman being out with an Achilles tear, it's going to take him at least 9 to maybe 12 months, maybe even a year and a half for him to fully, completely rehab. I'd definitely sign Alford to a 2-year contract. Now, I'm not saying I would just rest on my laurels with him being out there. I think we need to add some more depth to that as well. And there's no guarantee of whether he's going to be a nickel corner for us this year, on the next year if we sign him. Honestly, I would be trying to replace Mike Hughes, and I would still sign somebody else and make Alford compete for that nickel position. The best of Alford was brought out in having the competition with Billy Bowman. And honestly, early on at the beginning of the season, he wasn't as good. And even though he's been good as of late, he hasn't been the greatest with his coverage grades. It's been a lot of his run stuffing and all that. So I'd like to be able to keep him in that nickel position because that's kind of more the skill set you need to be able to have with a nickel. He hasn't been very great in his pass coverage. He's not been a complete liability, and he's been better than some of the other guys out there. But I'd still be looking to shore up that cornerback room. But for the right price, I'd definitely bring back Alford. Right now he's on a 1-year deal. But I can't imagine he's going to command big money in the offseason. I definitely want to keep him as a rotational guy. And last, Drake London. Drake London is going to be out this week. We're going to have another reserve wide receiver in there again. And Dylan Drummond, if I'm elevated from the practice squad to the 53-man active roster. Now, the Falcons have been searching all year to have a just comparable, reliable number 2 receiver out there. Darnell Mooney was supposed to be filling that position, and he's been doing a pretty solid job as of late, but as of recent, Drake London not only missing this week, but potentially missing more weeks in the rest of the regular season coming up. You really got an opportunity for some guys to really step up, really contribute to this team. We definitely need another number 2 receiver. Now, believe it or not, there's still people out there that are complaining, saying that we could have had Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and I even saw somebody saying something about Penix Poll and how that would have made our team a lot better. I think that drafting Bijan Robinson was a great pick for us. Bijan Robinson was so good for us because we were able to get Zack Harrison in that same draft, and if they would have used him right, he would have been even more of a steal than he's been for us now. He's been maybe the most valuable defensive player for us this year. He's definitely been the most valuable one on the defensive line because of his versatility. He's been great against the run and pretty good against the pass. So good that you keep him out there on passing downs, and if you run and if you want to actually pass on early downs, he can line up in B gaps or on the edge and be able to get sacks for you. And for a time, he was leading our team in sacks, even though he was hurt. There's 3 guys that we got depth with, including Zack Harrison, that if we would have just had one Jalen Carter, we wouldn't have the production that we have right now. Rook and Brandon Doris, who have been just great steals. We got Rook and we got Brandon Doris last year, who are outperforming a lot of other defensive linemen, interior guys, or just defensive linemen in general that were drafted last year with this year's performance. Right now, Brandon Doris is our team leader with sacks. More than Braylon Fitz. He even has more than Jared Verse out there in LA. I don't think there's a lot of guys who were drafted last year, or even this year for that matter, that have more sacks than he has. So it's been huge that we had him. And Rook has been great against the run. And he's pretty good against the pass as well, too. He's been able to be a great replacement, allow us to just let go of Grady Jarrett. The biggest problem we've had so far is that we just needed a little bit more depth on our defensive line. And if we would have actually gotten Jalen Carter instead, we wouldn't have that depth that we have right now. And I think our offense would be a lot more stagnant than it is even right now, because if you had Tyler Algier out there instead of Bijan Robinson, there is no guarantee that this offense would be moving as smooth as it is. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee you that it wouldn't be moving as smooth as it is. You can kind of key on what Tyler Algier is going to do. Him and Bijan complement each other very well. in the ways that you're able to use. One of the other reasons that I think it was a really good idea we drafted Bijan Robinson is because it caused the butterfly effect of us getting Jaylen Walker and getting James Pierce Jr. Those guys have been more than worth the price of admission. Right now, Jaylen Walker has 5 sacks. And James Pierce Jr. has 4.5 sacks. Now, both of these guys have been tremendous for us, but Jaylen Walker adds a lot of versatility to what we're able to do. As a matter of fact, we'll probably be able to let go of Arnold Ebiketie. Just depends on what he wants to get paid on the open market coming up. But he makes a lot of plays that Ebiketie's not able to make, and he gets quarterbacks on the ground on his sacks. Ebiketie misses far too many tackles and sacks for me. Jaylen Walker has as many sacks right now this season as any of the premier edge rushers that were taken this year or last year. And James Pierce Jr. has the best, and James Pierce Jr. leads all rookies in pressure rate. You couldn't ask for a better bargain with those guys that we got out there because they have been real catalysts for this defense right now. If you look at it, we're still a top defense just like Philly is. Of course, I'd want to add, maybe a defensive tackle or some other guy. If you look at it, we're still a top defense just like Philly is. Of course, I'd want to add, maybe a defensive tackle or some other guy that's a blue collar, just trenches guy, just to be able to have a little bit more depth, because that's what hurt us and plagued us this year, was even though we had guys that were versatile, they kind of were injured a great deal. So we want to be able to shore that up in case we have guys that we could just keep putting guys in one after another, to be able to just keep throwing at the offense to keep those guys fresh. And to be able to plug and play and not miss a beat in case somebody does get hurt. So I'd honestly rather have Zack Harrison and Brandon Doris, along with Jaylen Walker and James Pierce Jr., than to have just had Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, maybe. I like Jaylen Walker better than Nolan Smith up there in Philly and a lot of those guys some of those guys that they have in the front seven. Of course, we're going to have to develop our guys a little bit more, but I really like what I'm seeing so far in the way that we're being able to utilize them. And I hope that we're in a position where we can keep these defensive assistants with Nate Ollie and Jeff Obert. They've been huge for this team. I mean, we wouldn't be in so many close games if this defense wasn't performing to the level that's been performing. As a third point, along with that, Terry has really been going out here getting us the guys that we really need for the scheme that we want to be able to play. And we've had pretty good coaching on defense. Even when we have some of our more subpar talent and key guys out, they're still being able to get the best out of these guys and get them to perform to a high enough level that we can keep a certain standard going. So you really got to love that. One of the biggest reasons I like Jaylen Walker and James Pierce Jr. so much is that we're a lot more athletic out there with those guys against athletic running quarterbacks. We're able to really get these guys on the ground, stop, redirect, and be able to make sacks, fight through double teams, fight through guys getting in our way, running stunts, and being able to chase down these guys where they're not the problem that they were before. I feel like pretty much against any quarterback in this league that's a running quarterback, I like our odds if we have James Pierce Jr. and Jaylen Walker out there on the field, especially at the same time. All right, guys, that's our show for today. And make sure you hit our Week 13 power rankings for our top 10 teams in the NFL. If you made it this far, give us a like and subscribe. Small thing for you, but huge for us. Hopefully we earned it. C. Mitchell, Point Game Official, checking out for the Falcons Bird Bag.